The following show contains views and opinions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to Thespian Talk, everybody. I am your host, Gomer the Ranting Thespian, and my co-host this week is the Cat.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, and now she's got her awesome audio upgrades. I've got my audio upgrades. We sound better than a 50k game show.
I see what you did there.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure everybody else sees it too, and my defense of that is, hey, you know what? Everybody else has gotten their shot. I want to get mine in too, damn it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, send me a message. I'll let you know. Oh, so how has your week been? Or actually past couple of weeks. It's been a couple of weeks since you've actually been on.
Yeah, I think I didn't record last week, which I was at a convention, so that was a lot of fun. It's been kind of crazy because I've just come off of a really huge thing at work where you do a physical inventory every year, and I was one of the basically 3 people in our store who had to prepare for it because I work a shitty retail job at Best Buy. For those who don't know. Yeah. And so I just spent like 3 months basically preparing for the physical inventory, and then we did it, and we did like the second best in our market area. We did really, really well.
Nice.
And so then I had like this super easy week right after it, and then I went to a convention, and then all this week at work, like I didn't even know what to do because I was so used to for most of my tenure at Best Buy, just being stressed out of my mind, like, because I had come back to this position after. This is like way too much information for you guys, but since you asked, I had gotten this position at Best Buy, coming from a different position at Best Buy, and I pretty much started right before the holidays. So like pretty much I had gone from like October or so, maybe like September, coming into the holidays, gearing up for everything, until 2 weeks ago with like this gigantic, like way large workload, like abnormal amount of work. And so like this past week, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm so used to having this gigantic workload and being stressed out of my mind. I don't know how to do my job normally without freaking out and being stressed.
Aww.
So like this week was awesome. And then my friends and I got together Friday night and all day yesterday and did a Marvel movie marathon for all the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. And then we're all going to get together next week and go see Age of Ultron, which is so exciting.
Yes.
So excited.
I'm going to see it this coming Friday myself. Greer and I are going to go see it. So
Yes, I can't wait.
Yes.
Stringlessness intensifies. I'm so excited.
And then, of course, there are already people talking about it because I think they got it early over in Europe and all of that. And I've been avoiding spoilers, so I'm good on that part. But yeah, the people who got to see it earlier, god damn it.
Fuck you, Europe!
Yes.
No, we love you. We really do love you. And thank you guys for not being douchebags full of spoilers, because I haven't seen any spoilers going around. And I think that's just due to the politeness of Europeans compared to Americans.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, so with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and hit the shout outs for this week. I'm assuming you don't have one. Am I right?
I almost had something, but I can't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh no!
It wasn't gonna be like a shout out, but there was a video that I thought people should watch, and I don't remember what it was. But if you haven't seen the video for the correspondence dinner that was like yesterday at the time of recording, Obama at the correspondence dinner.
Uh-oh.
That is an amazing video. Because you've come to the point where you realize Obama really just doesn't give a shit anymore. Not about the presidency or the country, but like just he doesn't have to run for a re-election, so he's just doing whatever the hell he wants. And so if you haven't seen this video, this is the actual correspondence dinner. It's Obama with quote unquote Luther, his anger interpreter. And it's one of the guys from Key and Peele, basically saying what Obama's trying not to say, and it's all very, very funny. And then Obama just starts getting so angry at the end. The other guy's like, whoa, you need to calm down. It's so funny. Oh my god. Oh,
Oh,
it's great.
I've got to check it out for myself, definitely.
Oh,
I've seen it floating around Tumblr here and there, so I actually need to just take a moment, click it, and watch it at some point.
it's all over my Facebook right now.
Ah, yes. As for me, I actually have one, Half Heart Gaming, which is somebody I picked, not picked up, but seen through Reddit actually, because sometimes I'll post like my Let's Plays and stuff over there on Reddit, try and get a little bit of extra views, some feedback here and there. And she does several games at a time right now. One of them is Minecraft, and it's like, you know what? I'm in a Minecraft mood. Let's see what she does, and she is very entertaining. Very entertaining. Just half heart, half dash heart gaming. It's not. It you gotta have the dash in there. Over on YouTube, the link will be below, and the video versions on the sites and everything. If you want to just click the link. If not, half heart gaming. Check it out. You'll like it. It's awesome. Ah, so and this new microphone, I don't know if it could pick up my knuckles cracking. Ah, but yeah, we brought up the politics, and yeah, this news week, we're gonna start out really fucking infuriating. But I made a point to put a few news stories in here that would lighten it up a little bit more, or at least I hope it does. Oh, and I'm beginning to see a trend. Whenever Cat comes onto the show, Missouri is going to do something stupid.
It's true. I should probably never do the show again, and then Missouri would straighten itself out.
You would think that would work, but you're also still on what the fuck.
Yeah, unfortunately, Missouri's never going to straighten itself out.
Yeah, not without a good big slap with a dick or something like that. Oh, so yeah, so what are we talking about? Well, a little town called Kinloch. Now I've copy and pasted the first, the news stories that I've got in question, in here because they've all happened within the past week. They elected, the town. I think what was the vote? I know it's in here somewhere. Well, oh God, there was the vote in here. Anyways, we'll come across it later. But it's a really small town, and they've elected their first African American mayor. Not just African American, but African American female mayor at that. And you'd think, hey, first one since the town's been founded or whatever, milestone, right? That's a good thing. People are moving forward. Trouble is, former city clerk Tyus Bird was sworn in as mayor of Parma, Missouri on Tuesday, only to find out that police officers, as well as the city attorney and a water treatment supervisor, had resigned before she took office. Cops are resigning over her. All right, well, yeah, over her and over, I guess Tyrus Bird as well. Just what the hell? Yeah.
So to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
this is like 80% or something. 5 out of 6 officers. This is a really small town.
Yeah.
So 5 out of the 6 officers on the police force. This is a very small town.
Yeah. Mm.
And I would hope that after 5 out of 6 officers in a small racist fucking town, hopefully this is actually just a great opportunity for them to hire police officers who aren't a bunch of fucking racists.
Yeah. Just I hope so, because it's like, what the hell? What the hell? Ah. And according to the article, the city employees gave no prior notice. So it's like, oh, we have black person in the office. Well, nope. We're stepping down. It's like, really? You're really fucking racist. And it gets worse. And at least according to the 2 articles that I found, I may have misspoke, because one of them says is out of Kinloch, the other one is out of Parma. So it looks like we might just have a double, not just one of the same thing, but it's like a double duty in Missouri, and that's not a good thing. So you got one, you got one with half the police force just saying, hey, you know what, fuck you, we're not going to work for this person because we're fucking racists. On the other hand, we have Kinloch. Betty McRae is the city's newly elected mayor over there, and she had arrived at City Hall Thursday morning with an entourage and the intention to fire multiple city employees. But before she could enter the building, McRae was told she was the one who was out of a job. In the parking lot, she was met by half a dozen police officers and City Attorney James Robinson, who held a manila envelope under his arm containing articles of impeachment. First off, before we get any much further into the article, why would anybody want to impeach somebody right before they even take office, if not for, I don't know, racist things, for racist reasons?
See, the thing about Missouri is that we don't have the sneakiness of Illinois. When you get into, say, Chicago politics, you get into a lot of sneaking around and being clever about how you do stuff. And when you get into Missouri politics, it's way more like, oops, I did all of this in public. Too bad.
So, in other words, the Missouri politicians don't know how to cover their own asses.
No, they're really genuinely terrible at it. Every time somebody tries to be sneaky in politics and doing things that are terrible, they fail at it utterly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. So Robinson also told Alderman Eric Petty, an ally of McRae's, that the board had drafted articles of impeachment against him as well, and of course he refused to accept them. We won, he said. It's time for them to move on. Kinloch, the first city in Missouri to be incorporated by African Americans, is situated between Ferguson and Lambert St. Louis International Airport. Oh, wow. It once thrived with more than 10,000 residents. Then in the 1980s, the airport began buying homes for a noise abatement program, purchasing roughly 1,360 properties, and the city's population plummeted, and poverty and blight took hold. Today, Kinloch, which has fewer than 300 residents, is marked by pilfered coffers, shady land deals, and increasingly bitter fights over the last remnants of political power. So it's like a miniature Detroit, from what I'm understanding.
It's a bunch of people who are fighting over to be at the top of a scrap heap.
Yeah. During the past 5 years, the city has seen the imprisonment of a former mayor on a federal fraud and theft charges, the hiring of a convicted felon as a city manager, and the selling of a previous city hall building to an alleged drug dealer, and the unseating of at least 2 aldermen.
So like I said, Missouri really sucks at hiding its dirty laundry.
Indeed.
They just sort of get it all over the place.
Yeah. And now here's where the article says why. There are fresh allegations of voter fraud. So on April 7th, McRae defeated Mayor Darren Small with 38 votes to his 18. Another candidate, Thelda Wilson, received 2 votes. Petty ran unopposed. After the Board of Aldermen declined to swear them in, the 2 were sworn in by St. Louis County Circuit Court Clerk on Tuesday. I swear I can read. So they were sworn in anyway. They basically had to just go over the heads because, hey, these guys won the election. You know, the other guy he ran unopposed, so it's like nobody could really oppose him. So, yeah. On Thursday, Robinson declined to provide copies of impeachment charges, nor would he reveal who on the Board of Aldermen voted to suspend McRae, except to say that they voted in a meeting on Monday. If asked to provide copies of impeachment charges, would it be in the best interest to provide those, to say, hey, these are the charges, this is what you can do with them, we're not just blowing shit out of our ass? Am I thinking that would be a good idea, or are they actually doing something they think might be smart? I don't think it would be smart, by covering it up, because by them covering it up, I think that they're playing some kind of bullshit game.
They're only trying to fool themselves. It's not working.
Yeah. According to documents obtained by the Post-Dispatch through a records request, the city has raised concerns to the St. Louis County Board of Elections and the Missouri State Secretary of State about people being registered to vote in Kinloch who no longer live there. On April 2nd, the city gave the election board a list of 27 names of people who claimed were illegally registered. Many of those individual addresses were listed as city-owned apartments. McRae said that the concerns about people being illegally registered were absurd. Never came up until I ran for mayor, she said, adding that people were still living at the addresses the city claims are empty. At least 2 of the apartments in question are on Tuttle Street, where 6 people are registered to vote, according to the city, appeared this week to have been occupied for some time. Both were stripped of furniture and appliances. In one, a jar of pickles and 2 spent oxygen tanks sat amid other debris on the floor. So it's like, it just keeps getting thicker and deeper. Oh dear. Because I have to wonder, with the guys not wanting to immediately pull out the impeachment records, and then suddenly this comes up when McRae runs for mayor. Nobody apparently had any problems with this before. If there did, or if there were problems with it rather, nobody mentioned it. So I have to wonder, are they doing this just because they don't want her in office? I'm willing to bet that that's the case. I have...
Probably. I mean, people will allow something illegal to go on as long as it's not an inconvenience for them.
Of course. As long as it keeps giving them power. Hey, why not? And of course, as soon as somebody else tries, even if they even suspect somebody tries the same tactic, they will just blow the whistle and be like, hey, you can't do that. Well, you did that very same damn thing. I would love to just be the one to call out a politician for doing something like that, just so I can get my own footage of them flustering around like a rowboat with one paddle. One paddle just yeah.
Going in circles, you mean?
Yes, definitely. But at the end of the day, she's actually going to get a good lawyer, so she is going to fight this, which, good on her. She needs to. McRae, the elected mayor, she's going to be fighting all of this because, hey, why not? So any other thoughts on all of this bullshit before we go on?
I need to move.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's what I'm taking away from this. I need to move.
Yeah. Let's move to Chicago. Let's all get together, move to Chicago, and we'll just have this big, awesome production place in Chicago. And
then we'll make really, really expensive game shows.
Yes. Yeah. And actually put in a little bit more effort. So this next one is really, really awesome. Late last spring, a doctoral student worked late into the night. As she doodled, her chemistry thesis took on a life of its own, transforming into a comic book. Veronica Burns, 28, was working on her PhD in chemistry at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Burns said she long struggled to explain her work to her parents and friends. The self-described comic book fan said she began drafting her thesis on quasicrystals, a subset of crystals that diverged from the usual structural characteristics of crystals. Burns quickly concluded that she would be best able to describe the oddball compounds with illustrations. They're not very well-polished illustrations, and that's on purpose, Burns said. I wanted it to be like I'm explaining on the back of an envelope. And on many occasions, it was on the back of an envelope or a napkin that she doodled sketches of the chemical bonds better to show her parents what she was working on in the lab. Jody Burns, Veronica's mother, said their family has a history of doodling and has shared comics for years. Sweet. Burns surprised her family with her comic book, Atomic Size Matters, at her graduation last year. The book depicts cartoons of Burns wearing various costumes and uses humor as well as simple comparisons to describe elaborate chemistry. I want one. We're really just proud that she can take something so complex and put it into a visual explanation that everyone can enjoy, Jody Burns said. Veronica Burns' professor, Danny Fredrickson, said Burns was the first of the students to construct her thesis in an artistic way. He said, often it is difficult for scientists to explain what they do with proper context. And if it's worth doing, we should be able to explain it, he said. And he said Burns managed to accomplish that. Burns said he hopes other scientists will find ways to illustrate what they're doing in the lab. She now lives in Chicago and works as a chemist. Burns also writes a blog in which she uses comics to explain the work of Nobel Prize-winning scientists. And she started a Kickstarter fundraising campaign to finance printing of a small batch of the books. She said she wanted to raise $5,965 to cover the cost of professional printing, and the website says she's raised more than $14,000. Fuck yes! Like I said, I want one. Because anything to make all of the most complicated stuff in science more accessible to everybody, I'm on board with that. I have to be. Just because everybody can do more, can benefit from just being able to understand the most complex scientific things that are on this planet. And Kat, you have been silent, so I am curious what you think about this.
This is a story that you threw in there just because you really, really want this book, isn't it?
Actually, both yes and no. I do want this book, but this is showing that somebody's taking the initiative, doing something different, and they're being rewarded for it. Their leap of faith is being rewarded, and being rewarded in a positive way. We need more of this. It also helps that my girlfriend is also an aspiring comic book writer and artist, so she's working on her own, and hopefully that will give her some encouragement. You know. So yeah, so there are a few things, but yes, this is really fucking awesome. 14,000 for all of this. Like, it's like as soon as I get it, I'm gonna get one. If Becky hasn't already gotten herself one, I'm gonna buy her one. I'll have to see what happens. So I brought up Detroit earlier, and this is still in the vein of things that are pretty fucking awesome. The Detroit Zoo is planning to turn abundant piles of animal manure into energy. The zoo in the Detroit suburb of Royal Oak says Monday that construction on the anaerobic biodigester begins this spring and will be completed this year. The biodigester will turn about 400 tons of manure a year, as well as other organic waste, into methane-rich gas. This gas will be used to help power the 18,000 square foot Ruth Roby Glancy Animal Health Complex, saving $70,000 to $80,000 in annual energy costs. Holy shit.
Damn.
No pun intended.
No, seriously, holy shit.
Yeah. The system will also convert manure into compost that will be used to fertilize animal habitats, gardens, and public spaces. As part of the effort, the Michigan Economic Development Corps and the Detroit Zoological Society are conducting a crowdfunding campaign. Holy shit! If you can save that much running a zoo, a zoo or a vet complex or something like that, just imagine what you could do if you could take a place like Chicago or New York, and you convert, they're large cities. There's a lot of shit. Just think how much energy you could produce from all of the shit, especially if half the cities eat Taco Bell every day. Just all of that, and oh god, that's renewable energy out the ass, really, because it's just, you're always going to be able to shit, you're always going to be eating, it's always going to come out. There you go. You can be your own renewable source. Now to just do something about the smell. I
think it's really interesting that there are so many different renewable energy sources that may not be the most fun to talk about, but are in some cases worth exploring.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one big pile of shit.
Oh yeah, because hey, this shit is going to be saving them a lot of money. And with Detroit being the way it is, they could use all the money they can get.
Yeah, seriously, they need all the help they can get. And if it's just a town full of shit, well then great. It's a town that's powered.
Yes. Oh. So, this next one is just silly. Out of Boston. And speaking of Boston, hello everybody at the D-pad if you're listening, because that's where they're based out of, I think. Somewhere in Massachusetts. Boston police say they have arrested a 65-year-old man they believe is the infamous Brighton Tree Ninja. For several years, a vandal has been damaging newly planted trees and shrubbery in the city's Brighton neighborhood. Authorities have been unable to apprehend the perpetrator. First off, what did those trees ever do to you?
What, did a tree fall over and kill your mom or something?
Yeah, I know, but it's like, you don't need to do anything because it's basically that tree was kind of kamikaze, I guess, because if tree's falling down, odds are it's not getting back up. It's kind of, dead or dying. So, the Boston Globe reports that police set up surveillance near the Brighton Elks Club, and officers caught Joseph Rizza entering an empty lot and attempting to chop down a tree with a hammer.
So drugs were involved, is what you're saying?
I'm hoping so. I'm pretty positive they are. Detectives took Rizza into custody, and he is being charged with 5 counts of willful and malicious destruction of property, and 1 count of possession of a dangerous weapon. Police are continuing to investigate Rizza in connection with several years of reports of similar incidents. A message left with Rizza's attorney was not immediately returned. And the fact that he's using a hammer, number one, you don't chop down a tree with a hammer. If you must chop down a tree, use a saw or some kind of blade. And number two, Nash uses the hammer on his what the fuck videos and all of that. That's not meant to be a real life thing there. Don't run around with a hammer, especially if you just no. It's just. I'm glad he got caught because it's like he's just a fucking idiot. And we're going back to Michigan and back into the terrible. A Michigan tree trimmer and one of his employees set up a display featuring a Confederate flag and a pair of nooses. And they don't care about neighbor complaints. Well, I don't know. I mean, if I were to do something as horrible, it's not as horrible as some other things I could do. But if I were to set up such horrible symbols as the Confederate flag and a pair of nooses on a tree, I don't think I would be giving much of a shit about the neighbors either. I don't think that entered their minds. Neighbors complained about the display outside Robert Tomanovic's home in Livonia, where he hung a noose from a tree and a Confederate flag printed with the slogan, "I ain't coming down," on a fence. After the complaints, a second noose was hung from a tree outside a second home Tomanovic owns down the street and used for his business, Robert's Discount Tree Service. So okay, at least it's on your property, but at the same time you're still a dick and you're putting it in front of your place of business. That's going to hurt your business, or it could. Idiot. And let's see. It's a tree that is easily climbable, said neighbor Nicole Bernhardt. Any kid could climb the tree and hang himself. Maybe that was his idea. I hope not. Tomanovic fled inside his home, when a WXYZ TV, really, it's WXYZ TV. That is the most awesome TV call sign ever. Yes!
You'll never forget it, that's for sure.
Yes! But he fled inside when a reporter asked him for comment, but one of his employees admitted to hanging the second noose in response to the neighbor complaints. "I love it," said the employee, who displayed a Confederate flag license plate on his work pickup truck. "Screw him." The employee, who declined to give his name, you're not worried about complaints, but you're hiding your name. Yeah. He said he and his boss would not take down the flag or nooses. "Hell no," he said. We're gonna put up more. Tomanovic's wife, Lindy, said the display was not intended to be racist. Bullshit. Yeah, not intended to be racist, my ass. I mean, the flag, you might have maybe a little bit because, of things. But you add the nooses to it, what else do you expect? What else do you expect? Robert had a friend that died in that way, hanging himself, and that's in memory of his friends, she said. She claimed her husband's family is from the South, and they simply like the way the Confederate flag looks. So, maybe they got too much time on their hands, Lindy Tomanovic said about her neighbors. There's no crime in hanging a noose. Police said the display did not likely break any law, since it does not appear that the display was intended to target anyone in particular, but they hope to mediate the dispute between the homeowners and their neighbors. It's probably clear from what I'm said going through this article, but I think they're fucking racist. What do you think?
I recall a neighbor that I had, and this was back in Maryland. In Maryland isn't super racist. I mean, compared to where I live now, I didn't really witness a lot of racism going on there. But I had this neighbor up the street who was, her dad was super old, Like he had had kids at weird ages. And so she was like 9 when I was like 11, but her dad was in his like 60s or something. He had come from a different era.
Right.
And every time a house went for sale on our street, he would put up a Confederate flag.
What?
And he didn't go out of his way to be racist. He didn't like, we had black people on our street and he was very kind to them because he was, just generally a kind person.
Mm-hmm.
But, he just put up this Confederate flag to keep the black people off of the street. And we're like, what are you doing? That's so fucking rude. Like, what the fuck? It's terrible. But he was still very nice. Like, he was nice to you as a person, but he just wanted to keep all them black people off the street. And we're like, why? You're so weird.
Yeah, it's like...
Which is even funnier considering the street, like, next to ours was nothing but black people. Like, I don't know what went on between this avenue and the next avenue, but it really was like, here's the street, and then all the black people live on one street. It was very strange.
Yeah.
But it's like that, where, some people just don't see the harm in it. They just don't, maybe these people in this article, they don't see any harm in it. Maybe they really do think that this is an homage to a friend. But they're fooling themselves because they're not fooling anyone else. You put up a Confederate flag and you put up a noose, and what you're saying, I don't care what you think you're saying, all you're saying is, I like hanging black people. Yeah. That's it. That's all you're saying. This is not an homage to your friend. This is not some sort of patriotic thing. This is saying, I want a lynching. Yeah. And that's not cool.
No.
But on the other hand, to be fair, it's your piece of property. You have the right to do whatever you want. But just because you have that right to free speech doesn't mean you are free from the consequences of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the stuff on not only your personal, your home property, but on your business. I don't know about you, but unless, let's see, what does he do? Discount tree service. Okay. Yeah, unless you're the only tree service in the area, I'm likely not going to go to you if I need to have a tree extracted from my backyard. Or otherwise dealt with. I don't know exactly what tree service people do. But, yeah.
They probably uproot stuff, but they probably also, like, trim trees and cut branches and stuff like that. Yeah, so if I see that, I'm not hiring you because I assume that you're racist. And even if my assumption is wrong, you have created that presentation for me. Mm-hmm. And if you want to wallow in the ignorance of thinking that what you're saying isn't racist, fine. But I'm still not going to patronize you. Like, seriously, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's similar to that one pizza place in Indiana that when the whole religious freedom thing came around, they came around and said, yeah, we're not going to cater to gay people, we're not going to cater to gay weddings, and, well, we know what happened to them.
Right.
So, yeah. And hey, you know what? If you really want to honor your friend and have put something up in his memory, noose is not exactly the best way to go. Whether you're racist about it or not. Just no. Why would you do that?
If your friend has killed themselves, like, throwing up that manner in which they kill themselves is not really the right way to go about raising awareness or honoring memory. If you want to honor that person, you should be doing something more. Something that isn't a symbol, but an action. Yeah. Like, say, for example, donating to suicide awareness or raising awareness for suicide awareness. Stuff like that. Stuff that can actually make a difference. Yeah. Throwing a noose up in a tree is just, asking people to go hang themselves, really. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And you know what the worst part about this is there's lots of stupid kids all over the place, and they're going to see that, and they're going to think it's funny, and they're going to, like, go up there and fake hang themselves, and someone's going to die.
Yeah, that is also the other thing, because there was somebody who mentioned, any kid could climb up there and hang himself, and of course, the really dark place, if somebody on that road really was suicidal, like deep no getting out of it, no coming down from it. They are determined. They're probably going to hang from one of your nooses, buddy.
Yeah,
You want to be
considering
responsible for that.
you put a sign next to it that says "not coming down" or whatever. Yeah, you're not helping people with this.
No.
You are enforcing, you're reinforcing the ideas that a suicidal person might think.
Yeah, and it's just no, dude. Just if you want to be proud of any Confederate heritage, although I don't know why, there are better ways to do it. Just like of honoring your friend. If you want to honor him, fine. There are better ways to do it. You just look like a bunch of racist pricks. So, we come back to St. Louis. Oh boy, St. Louis.
We could just not. I already live here. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh dear. The St. Louis Archbishop, embroiled in a sexual abuse scandal, testified last month that he didn't know in the 1980s whether it was illegal for priests to have sex with children, according to a court deposition released Monday. Did not know in the 1980s whether it was illegal for priests to have sex with children.
See, this is where we go back to you're not fooling anybody. You're not confused. You know exactly what you did, and your pathetic attempt at getting out of taking responsibility for the children that you hurt is not fooling anybody. It's not.
No. And you know what? Whether or not it was illegal, you still hurt them.
Even if it was legal, this is a priest who took an oath to certain things, such as, say, celibacy.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it wasn't illegal, which it was, no matter what, it was.
Right.
The 80s was not the 20s or the 1880s.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was still illegal in the 80s. That didn't change in the last 30 years.
No.
Even if it was legal, which it wasn't, that
Right.
still would have been against every oath that you took as a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever thing that you have to agree to in order to be an archbishop or whatever. It was still immoral. And you can't sit up there and tell people how to be religious and how to be a good child of God when you have done what you've done and then pretend like it's not your fault. What the fuck?
Yeah, when exactly it is your fucking fault. Let's see. The guy is Archbishop Robert Carlson, who is Chancellor of the Archdiocese of Minneapolis and St. Paul at the time. And he was deposed as part of a lawsuit against the Twin Cities Archdiocese and the Diocese of Winona, Minnesota. Hey, it rhymes. In a video released by the St. Paul law firm Jeff Anderson and Associates, the Catholic Archbishop is asked whether he had known it was a crime for an adult to engage in sex with a child. "I'm not sure whether I knew it was a crime or not," Carlson responded. "I understand today it's a crime." And guess what? Like we said, it was a crime then too, dipshit. When asked when he first realized it was a crime for an adult, including priests, to have sex with a child, Carlson, 69, shook his head. "I don't remember," he testified. Bullshit. Attorney Jeff Anderson, who is representing an alleged clergy abuse victim, also released documents Monday indicating Carlson was aware in 1984 of the seriousness of child abuse allegations. He wrote to then Archbishop John Roach, that parents of one of the alleged victims was planning to go to police. Carlson's role at the time was to investigate abuse claims, and he admitted in his deposition that he never personally went to the police, even when a clergy member was admitted to inappropriate behavior. When as a clergy member, I think is what they meant to write. In last month's testimony, Carlson responded 193 times that he did not recall abuse-related conversations from the 80s to mid-90s. Anderson provided a report from a previous deposition in 1987 in which now-deceased Bishop Loris Waters said he advised Carlson to answer, "I don't remember," if questioned in court. Carlson responded last month that he had no knowledge of the discussion. He left the Twin Cities in 1994 and eventually became the St. Louis Archbishop in 2009. The Archdiocese of St. Louis said in a statement Monday that Carlson had given testimony several times many years ago about the same allegations. In this most recent deposition, while not being able to recall his knowledge of the law exactly as it was many decades ago, it was only 30 years, About the same allegations. No, I'm sorry, I went back there. The Archbishop did make it clear that he knows that child sex abuse is a crime today, the statement said. The question does not address the Archbishop's moral stance of the sin of pedophilia, which has been that it is a most egregious offense. The trial against the Twin Cities Archdiocese is slated to begin in September. So it was like you said. Yes, that does go again. It is, a most egregious offense for these priests to be diddling these children. And yet they still do it. Not only do they do it, they cover it the fuck up. God damn it. Yeah.
It's so illogical that people who are so all about, the Bible and their religion tells you can't do these things because it's wrong. And it's wrong on every level imaginable. And they cover up for the other people? Like,
Yeah.
how can you say that you're religious and maintain the idea that you are pious and wise and all this other shit when you are actively covering up not just amoral decisions for other people, but crimes? How can you believe in God and then go before God and keep doing this stupid shit? Like, I'm kind of an atheist, but even I know that's fucked up.
Oh, yeah. And bear in mind, I am an agnostic atheist now. I grew up in the Christian church. I grew up Pentecostal, Baptist, Catholic. Had a little bit of taste of all of them. And one thing was accountability. Like, if you do something wrong, you should be called out for it. You should be held accountable for it. Whether it's in this life with one of your friends doing it, or or when you die and you go to the gates of heaven and God is holding you responsible for it, That's the whole idea behind accountability. That way, if people are fucking up, you can just, metaphorically slap them in the face and say, hey, don't do that, asshole. And, we work to correct and fix the problem. These guys
Right.
are not doing it.
And I understand that there's like, hey, you came into confession and said this, and what you say in confession is secret and we'll never tell anybody because that's our moral obligation. But these are people who have been sent to investigate stuff.
Yeah.
Like, people who have written letters, which at that point is admissible in court. So there's even documentation of, hey, we think this person is doing bad stuff. We need you to go investigate. And it was all covered up. That's messed up. You should save that sort of stuff for politicians who we know are evil. Like, seriously, you are held, when you're a politician or something, you are held to a higher moral standard, but we all know that you're going to fail that moral standard because you're a politician and you have to fuck over everybody to get to your position. It's sort of like how we all make fun of lawyers for having no souls. You're still disappointed when they do bad stuff, but you sort of expect it. You have this kind of fake outrage, like, oh, I never would have predicted that politician was fucking somebody other than his wife, blah, blah, blah. Fake moral outrage. You expect them to be better, but you know they're not going to be. Religious figures are the ones who are actually held to a higher moral standard because they're the ones telling you how to live by a moral standard. I understand that, yes, they are human, and humans they make mistakes. But these are people who, if they make mistakes, they're gonna tell you, look, you need to own up to your mistakes, and you need to ask for forgiveness, and you need to make yourself better. And these are people who have gone out of their way to do the opposite of what they preach.
Yeah.
And you wonder why, like, church numbers are declining every day. Like, this is why.
They're being run by hypocrites. And the worst kind, too. It's like, this is why my religion is a fake one. The one about the boobs and everything. That's an admittedly fake one. If it got real and everything, oh God, I don't even want to know what would happen. It'd probably end up getting taken over by dude bros because we know how they all act when they see tits.
Could be worse. Could be Scientology.
Oh, yeah.
A legitimately fake religion.
Yes.
Hey, did you ever see that? This is totally off topic, but they made I forget what it was called, but it was a documentary that ran on HBO about Scientology.
I had heard something about it. I kind of want to check it out.
Oh, it was really good. I'm gonna have to find out what it was called. Hold on.
Yeah. And if it's on YouTube, I will have to grab it and I will pull it aside and Becky and I can watch it one night because that is one of the things that she and I do that she and I will do. We'll get on like a Google Hangout or something and we will subject each other to either Let's Play videos or some of the most insane, horrific shit we can find. And it's usually religious, which says
It's
a lot.
it's called Going Clear, and it's a really new. It was made this year documentary, based on a book, and it was made by HBO, so it probably won't be on YouTube or anything. But I have HBO, so I ended up watching it. But it's basically a bunch of former really 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 high ranked Scientologists getting together and talking about how fucked up Scientology is. And if
Mm.
you ever have the chance to watch it, I highly recommend it because you will be both impressed and disgusted at the same time.
Oh yeah, as if we're not already disgusted with Scientology as it is, but
I know. You're sort of like, how did they get away with this? That's amazing and horrible.
yeah, but yet somehow they do. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they, from what I understand, they do sick like lawyers on pretty much anybody that they perceive to be a threat, and that threat could be anything from saying Scientology sucks or actually something more meaningful and deep about them, like calling them out on something that actually happened, something
Yeah,
like that.
they have basically an entire legal department that's dedicated to smear campaigns, and
Mm-hmm.
they will lie about anybody who says anything bad about Scientology. They will actively like target them. Like, oh, so like the greatest story is about them targeting Nicole Kidman
Oh no.
because she was married to Tom Cruise,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
So they actively targeted her and tried to turn her kids against her so that they could get them divorced and that he would get the kids and indoctrinate them. Like,
Oh
it's
hell no.
so fucked up. But yeah, if you ever get the chance, watch it because it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a morbid fascination where you're watching it going, this is horrible, but I can't stop.
So it's sounding to me like the South Park episode Trapped in the Closet without the humor.
Probably. There is a little bit of humor to it, only in that there is one guy who was a former super high ranked member who like curses up a storm every time he's interviewed, and because it's HBO, they don't bleep it out. So so he's the guy who's talking about once you reach the level of Scientology where they hand you the like the metal briefcase that's full of all the crap about Xenu, and he's like, this is why they don't lead off with this. You have to like get to a certain rank to read this super classified information, because if they told you this in the beginning, you wouldn't have fucking joined. It's
Yeah.
fucking insane.
And of course, nowadays, thanks to the internet and South Park and everything else like that, hey, we can find out about it on our own because it's out there on the internet. People have put it out there,
Exactly.
and
That's
no,
why it's maddening that people do stuff like that. Like people who join Scientology, or people who like even people who just start smoking. You're like, all the information that you need to make good life decisions, or at least better life decisions,
hmm
is right there on the internet. You can go and research anything. You could go and research Scientology. You can research the hazards of cigarettes, and you'll know this isn't something I should take part in because it's actually terrible.
yeah,
But people still do stupid stuff, and that's humanity for you.
oh yeah, oh so
Sorry,
speaking.
that's a really good closing for the show. We should put that at the end.
Well, we do have one other news story left, but speaking of news, speaking of stupid people, out of Oklahoma City, an
Great,
Oklahoma,
because Oklahoma has been great in the news lately.
oh yeah. An Oklahoma City man faces 3 charges, including indecent exposure, after a reported incident with a door-to-door magazine salesman. About
Oh
one
God.
about about 1:40 p.m. Friday, police responded to a call at an apartment complex on South May Avenue. According to officials, the salesman was invited into Colin Mayer's apartment to discuss buying magazine subscriptions. And I want to take a moment because they put his age. His age is 20. But they put Colin Mayers, 20, Is it me or does that read really weird? Because I don't know.
I mean, I think that's technically correct.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you just reads weird to me, I guess. The salesman was in the apartment for about 5 minutes, and Mayer stripped naked while he was leaving, according to a police report. Mayer asked the salesman if he would do things to him, which shocked and frightened him. Well, yeah, I would too. I would be shocked and frightened as well. The salesman said once he left the apartment, Mayer repeatedly called his cell phone and started to follow him around the apartment complex, according to the report. The salesman wisely called the police. After an officer placed Mayer under investigative detention and into a squad car, Mayer said that he is naked in his house all the time because it is his house and he is comfortable that way, and that his religion requires him to be naked, according to the report. Mayer's mother arrived at the scene and was asked to stand back while officers investigated.
Oh my god.
His religion requires him to be naked. Yeah, that's why you took off your clothes after the salesman came inside, right? Just what the
You know what though? Nobody will ever go to that house and try and sell magazines ever again.
Yeah, this apartment complex this apartment right here, don't go there. As long as that person lives there, do not go there. We do not want the naked crazy. This is not Florida.
I feel like this guy was either crazy or he was trolling and it just went too far.
Yeah.
That's some boldness right there. That's very bold.
Yes. While in the squad car, Mayer reportedly kicked out the side passenger window. Ouch, according to the report. Officers removed Mayer from the car and restrained him on the ground, which reportedly caused his mother to charge at the officers, according to the report. One of the officers held back Mayer's mother, and she was told to leave or she would go to jail. She left the scene, according to the report. Mayer was arrested and booked at the Oklahoma County Jail. Along with the indecent exposure charge, Mayer was charged with offering to engage in an act of lewdness and destroying property. Charged with offering to engage in an act of lewdness. That in and of itself just sounds so fishy. Now, if it was it was an unwanted offer, I could see that being a better charge, at least in terms of name, but this just sounds like, I just want to offer it to you, and I mean, we know in the context of the story that it was unwanted. We know this, but anybody just looking through this don't know the whole story. I'd be like, wait, why is that a charge? Was it wanted? Oh, no. Then why didn't you put that? I don't know. But it's Oklahoma. What do you expect, right? But, yeah. Religion requires him to be naked. What the fuck?
I mean, once again, who do you think you're fooling? Because you're not fooling us. You're not gonna fool jurors or a judge with that.
Yeah, this is one of those things you're not gonna be able to use the freedom of religion to get out of. Just really not gonna do that because, you pulled that after you got caught. And that's generally a big no-no, unless it is something legitimately required by your religion and the cops just simply don't know, or something like that. This does not sound like that to me.
For example, if your religion required you to be naked, you would have been naked when you answered the door.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have stripped.
No, you most likely wouldn't have. And even if your religion allows you to cover up when, like, a guest comes in or what have you, you could have just had on a robe. You could have just done that, not chase them around the apartment complex naked, and probably asking, hey, can you put your finger in my booty? Just no, dude, no, ew. I don't even want to know. Yeah. I don't know if I want to know if alcohol or drugs were a factor in that. It doesn't say, but
you gotta wonder, because people who do that, like, either seriously, he's crazy, he's on something, or he was just trolling the guy and took it too far.
Yeah.
But the whole, like, kicking the window out, that kind of says drugs to me.
Yeah, most likely. Just, what the hell? Oh, and I think, holy shit, I don't think we had a one Florida story this week. Holy shit!
We should take a shot for not having a Florida story.
Yes, actually take 2 shots, because it's so rare. Take 2 shots, there you go. Oh, so yes, So, yeah, that's going to be it for our news stories for this week. Before we go out, a little housekeeping going. I've been trying to get with the other person who has shown interest in filling the spot that Holly has left when she backed off the show. Scheduling has just been kind of hell getting our other person on here. Hopefully we will get him on in the next week or two. And even if he doesn't come on live, he is willing to do like a pre-recorded segment. So it's possible we could both get him and Aaron Mills, Dubious Khan, who was on last week, as part of the show as well. Hopefully I'll know some more answers by the time the next show comes around. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting, and that means there's going to be new art. Just because hey, we can't have the old art there. Which is sad, but art has to update up sometime anyway. So, and from what I understand, I think you guys have recorded your 200th episode of What the Fuck?
Yeah, we did. It was great because I was actually at my convention while we were recording. So I was in my hotel, like trying to slip away for an hour to record. But we had a really great episode, and it was really great obviously I haven't been on the show for 200 episodes, although each episode feels like dog years with Josh and Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't even know how many episodes I've done with that show. But yeah, it's very great to be part of such a long running show.
Yeah, and it is.
It's actually weird because I get more attention because of that than probably my other shows.
Yeah.
Like I get more follows on my Facebook page through that show than anything else, which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, which you know what? If Josh ever wants me to, I know I've been on there like once. If he ever wants me to come back on, I'll have to poke him and say, hey man, you want me on? I'll come back on again. I wouldn't mind it too much. I'd have to probably skip over that episode when I go through a listen through because I find it really weird to hear my own voice when I'm not editing. But hey, if other people like it, and it would be a lot of fun. Oh, so speaking of other shows and everything. Besides on What the Fuck, where could we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at what is my Twitter? Oh, hold on, my brain is farting from my Marvel movie marathon all weekend, and I spent more time on Twitter than anything else. But Twitter at LabyrinthCat and Facebook.com/NerdistCat, and then you can find me on my other show, What the Fuck, obviously, with Josh Hadley over on. So yes, thank you. My brain still wants to go to Jackalope Radio, and I know that's not right.
Yeah.
Yes, 1201beyond.com, and then you can find my other show, Nerd to the Third Power, which is eventually going to get updated on Channel Awesome, and then we're also on YouTube, and we are on iTunes, and we actually have episodes going up now on This Week in Geek, which is pretty awesome.
Yay! And yes, all the shows, all of my shows, all of Josh's shows, What the Fuck, Lost in the Static, all of them, the 1201 Beyond shows, and Nerd to the Third, all of them can be found on iTunes as well. So so if you're not listening to them on iTunes and you want to have like a quick, there you go, But as for me personally, you can find me on the Twitters and the Tumblrs and other places like that at Gomer21XX. My personal Facebook fan page is Gomer Ranting Thespian. Just type in Gomer the Ranting Thespian. There you go. You have it. Also, let's see. I've got other stuff that's also on my site, rtgomer.com, and on nerdvice.com, which, with the Mega Man 3 redo series coming to a close, that's going to be going up there in its entirety probably in the next month or so because of how scheduling is done with me on Nerdvice. And let's see, both my site and Nerdvice both have their own Facebook pages, their own Tumblr pages, their own Twitter accounts. Follow us everywhere. It will be awesome. You'll get updates and everything. And if you have questions or if you have feedback or whatever you want to send into the show, the Thespian Talk Tumblr, thespiantalk.tumblr.com, that we do have an Ask Box. Anonymous questions are open right now. You send in a question, we'll read it out, and we'll probably answer it on the next show. So it'll be a lot of fun. So with that, thank you guys for listening, and we hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, this is Gomer the Ranting Thespian with the cat, signing off.
Thespian Talk is an RT Gomer Productions presentation. Our show's theme is Kick Shock by Kevin MacLeod. Find out more at Incompetech.com. If you like this show and want to help support future episodes, head over to patreon.com/Gomer21XX. For a contribution as little as $1 per production, you can get early access to all future productions, as well as monthly Patreon-only vlogs and announcements. Our show's artwork was produced by the talented Becky Hopkins, who can be commissioned by going to patreon.com/BeckyHop. Check us out on iTunes or visit rtgomer.com for more great shows.